My sister's exact words were, "You're single with no kids. So clearly, the universe is telling you to take mine, then." She handed me 2 infant car seats at the airport, curb and walked through the sliding doors without a single glance back. Before I tell you what happened after that, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this story ends in a way you won't expect. My name is Laura Bennett. I'm 32, I live in Charlotte, and my sister Vanessa had always been the one my family excused, no matter what she did. So when she texted me asking to watch her 7-month-old twins for a few days while she and her fiancé Marcus took a spontaneous trip, I said yes without much hesitation. That's what sisters do. I drove to Charlotte Douglas Airport to pick up the twins, since Vanessa insisted it was easier to hand them off there than drive to my place first. What I found instead was Vanessa already checked in, boarding pass glowing on her phone screen, to diaper bags and to car seat sitting beside her like forgotten luggage. "Slight change," she said, barely making eye contact. "We're actually leaving today. Marcus surprised me with tickets to Aruba. Vanessa, you told me this weekend. I don't have a crib, I don't have formula. I have work tomorrow, you'll figure it out." "Laura, you always do," she said it so casually, like she was commenting on the weather, not abandoning her own infants with someone who had 30 minutes notice. Baby Grace started whimpering, and her brother Caleb wasn't far behind. I stood there frozen, holding to car seats, while my sister checked her lipstick in a compact mirror like she had somewhere important to be. "How long is this trip?" I asked, my voice tighter than I meant it to be. She paused just long enough for me to know the truth wouldn't match her answer. 10 days, maybe. I'll text you." Then came the sentence that I will never forget. She looked at me, really looked at me, and said, "Honestly, Laura, you're single with no kids, so clearly the universe is telling you to take mine for a bit. Consider it practice." She said it with a smile, like she was handing me a gift instead of to screaming babies and an unraveling life. I opened my mouth to argue, but she was already walking through security, phone pressed to her ear, laughing about something with Marcus. I didn't run after her. I stood in the middle of the terminal, 2 infants crying, no stroller, no supplies, completely blindsided by what had just happened to my entire week. That night, I called my mother, hoping for backup. Instead, I got, "Laura, don't make a scene about this. She's your sister, and those babies need family. You'll manage just fine." Nobody asked if I was overwhelmed. Nobody asked what this meant for my job, my 1-bedroom condo, my entire life being rearranged without my consent. I didn't sleep that first night. I made a bed out of couch cushions, drove to an all-night pharmacy for formula and diapers, and sat in the dark listening to 2 babies cry for a mother who wasn't answering her phone. By day 3, Vanessa had gone completely silent. By day 5, my supervisor, a man named Gregory Pierce, pulled me aside and told me my missed shifts were becoming a real problem for the team. I couldn't explain the truth without sounding unhinged. My sister abandoned her infant twins with me and flew to the Caribbean. Who believes that? By day 8, I was digging through the diaper bag searching for insurance information, and that's when I found it. Vanessa's old phone, screen cracked, tucked in a side pocket like she'd forgotten it existed. What I found on that phone changed everything I thought I knew about my sister. The messages went back almost for months. Conversations between Vanessa and Marcus about mounting credit card debt, about Marcus's small construction business collapsing under a lawsuit from an unhappy client, about needing to get out of town for a while until the dust settles. But the conversation that made my blood run cold was between Vanessa and her friend Nicole. "Laura will take them. She always does whatever we ask. She's alone anyway, it's not like she has much else happening. We'll be back before she even realizes how long we're actually gone. Not 10 days. Not a vacation." This had been planned for weeks, using me as unpaid, unquestioning childcare while they fled financial disaster they'd caused themselves. And she'd stood right in front of me at that airport and lied without blinking. I sat on my bathroom floor at nearly 2 a.m., both babies finally quiet, and something inside me hardened into absolute clarity. This wasn't a favor that had spiraled out of control. This was calculated. This was abandonment, dressed up in a smile and a suitcase. I thought about calling my parents again, but I already knew the response I'd get. Excuses, deflection, some Version of you know how Vanessa can be. Nobody in my family had ever once asked what I might be going through underneath all of it. So I stopped waiting for sympathy and started building something stronger. I contacted a family law attorney named Patricia Ford, recommended by a co-worker who dealt with a similar custody nightmare. I told her everything, the lies, the disappearance, the fact I had absolutely no legal standing over two children currently living in my care. Laura, she said, if either of these babies needed emergency medical treatment right now, you legally could not authorize it. You understand how dangerous that is. That single sentence hit harder than anything else had. I wasn't just exhausted. I was legally powerless to protect two children I was entirely responsible for. Patricia helped me file for emergency temporary guardianship, documenting the abandonment, the silence, and most importantly, the digital evidence proving this had been premeditated, not impulsive. Courts, she explained, respond very differently once premeditation enters the picture. I began documenting everything meticulously. Formula receipts, diaper purchases, a second-hand crib I bought off our neighborhood app, every unanswered call to Vanessa, time-stamped, every excuse that eventually trickled in, including one breezy text reading, "Hey, things got complicated. Can you just hang in there a bit longer? Hang in there." Like I was waiting on a delayed flight, not raising her children full time. By week 4, Gregory, my supervisor, softened once I finally told him a version of the truth. He adjusted my hours, connected me with the company's family resource program, and told me something I still carry with me. Laura, don't let guilt talk you into staying silent about this. By week 5, Vanessa finally called from an unfamiliar number, sounding almost annoyed that I hadn't simply accepted the situation. Things are taking longer than expected down here, she said. Can you just keep them a bit more? I'll Venmo you something for supplies. I nearly laughed at how small that offer was. Venmo, that was the extent of her concern. Vanessa, I said, my voice calmer than I expected. I've already filed for emergency guardianship. I have an attorney. And I found your old phone. I know this was never a spontaneous trip. The silence that followed told me she finally understood the ground had shifted. You went through my phone. She snapped, her voice edged with panic rather than shame. I went through the phone you left behind while abandoning two infants with someone who couldn't even take them to urgent care, I said. I read everything. Vanessa. The debt, Marcus's lawsuit, the plan to disappear and let me absorb the consequences. Does the twins' own pediatrician even know you left the country? She started crying, but it didn't sound like remorse. It sounded like someone watching her carefully built excuse collapse in real time. You have no idea what we're dealing with, she said. I don't need to, I told her. I need you to come home and take responsibility, or I move forward with permanent guardianship. And Patricia already has more than enough documentation to make that happen. She flew back 6 days later, not out of love, but because a certified legal notice reached Marcus's cousin's address. And suddenly a judge's authority mattered more to her than my feelings ever had. The hearing was quiet, procedural, almost anticlimactic in how ordinary it felt. Vanessa sat across the courtroom, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. While the judge reviewed my documentation, the timeline of silence, the missed work, the complete legal vacuum I'd operated in for 5 weeks while caring for 2 babies who weren't legally mine to protect, the court didn't strip her parental rights entirely. That's rarely how a first documented case unfolds. But it mandated supervised reintegration, regular welfare check-ins, and a permanent official record of exactly what had occurred. Something Vanessa could never soften into a different story later. My parents were furious, calling my choices dramatic, calling the courtroom unnecessary. But Gregory's words stayed with me. Don't let guilt talk you into staying silent. I never apologized. Not to Vanessa, not to anyone. 7 months later, Vanessa and Marcus settled their debts, downsized their lifestyle, and moved into an apartment 10 minutes from me, humbled in a way I never anticipated. I still see Grace and Caleb every single week, not because a court mandates it anymore, but because somewhere in those exhausting first weeks, I fell in love with 2 children who deserved so much better than being treated like an inconvenience. The real justice was never the courtroom. It was watching my sister finally show up, because I refused to let her walk away and call it my privilege. If this story moved you, tell me in the comments what you would have done in my place. Like this video, subscribe for more stories like this, and turn on notifications, because next week's story might surprise you even more. Thanks for watching.